Hello everyone, and welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and our weekly look back at the CBSI Hot Top 10 from 6 months ago. Today we're looking back at the list from February 9th, 2019, and I'm recording this on August 9th, 2019. So I'm not recording this till Friday, so I'm a little later than normal, but should still get this out on time. This is going to be the first list that I've recorded since we've all learned about the split between Comic Tom and CBSI on the list, and now Tom's now doing the key collector list. So if you're interested, tomorrow night, Sunday night, during my usual live stream, I'm going to be talking about that a little bit and how I want to handle that going forward. Obviously, we got some time. It's technically going to be 6 months till we get to one of those lists, but I'd like to get your guys' input, so if you're interested, please tune in for that. Without further ado, let's get into the list from 6 months ago and see what we can learn about those books and why they stayed hot or why they did not. First up, at number 10 is Magical Beatdown, number 1. And this appears to have hit the list simply because it was kind of a hot, low print, hard to find indie. Right out of the gate, week of release, it was going for $15. Now it's basically going for $1 to $10, including shipping. And I could find no slab sales. So basically, I don't know that I've actually seen an issue 2 to this. There's been no real follow-up. I've heard no buzz about this after its initial release, and therefore it really hasn't kept any value, at least at this point. There's always a chance that an indie like this, that it could be picked up, or the story could really pick up and people could start getting hooked. But for now, this is basically a dollar bin book. And number 9 on our list is These Savage Shores, number 3. And this is not the first time not the last time we'll see this title on this list. CBSI notes wondering why number 3 was taking off when number 1 was still going for cheaper. Another kind of hot indie, cool cover, but I'm not sure. I'll be honest, I didn't do a lot of research into this one. Not sure why this one was particularly hot, other than it was kind of limited or whatever. Back then it was going for $10 to $15, which was more than number 1 was going for. Basically now it is still going for $10 to $15. So it really hasn't changed much. Seems to still be a market for this one. But not sure what's driving that, at least to my knowledge. If you know, put a comment please comment down below so others can know what it is that's driving this particular book, because I don't know. So, and I couldn't find any slab sales for this as of yet. So that is These Savage Shores, number 3. Kind of moving right through the list today. And number 8 is Motor Girl, number 1, another indie book, but this one it has to do with hit the list because Terry Moore basically announced in a tweet that he was scripting a show for Hulu based on this title. So this book kind of took off. It jumped from basically a dollar bin book to a $15 book, and basically, it's still hanging around in that $10 to $15 range. I haven't heard any further updates related to a Hulu show of this, but he was scripting it, so that's a little further along in the process. At least it wasn't just option news. They were actually looking for a script. We'll see if it ever comes to the light, but you can still find this one for fairly reasonable if you're interested in Terry Moore and this getting out ahead of Motor Girl at $10 to $15. That's still pretty reasonable for a number 1. I can only find one 9.8 sale that was relevant on Go Collect or eBay, and that was in calendar year 2019 by relevant, and it was for $150. So that is Motor Girl, number 1. And number 7 on the list is another Harley Quinn cover. This is Harley Quinn number 58, the Chew cover. This is basically hit the list. People thought this was a cool cover. It was kind of the follow-up to Harley Quinn 57 that took off, that Tedesco cover. And basically, week of release, so people were trying to get out in front of it, I think, a little bit. Week of release, it was going for $10 to $15. Now it's more of a $5 to occasionally slightly over $10 book. Occasionally you'll see it go for like 12, but for the most part it's a $5 to $10 book, which might be paying a little too much for Raw because 9.8, there have been 25 sales listed on Go Collect for 9.8 of this book. The vast majority of those have been between $30 and $40. With a high that I saw of 50 and a low of 25. So this is if you really love this cover, this is very attainable in a 9.8 for basically the cost of getting it slabbed. So that is Harley Quinn, number 58. This one I think was after 57, there was more orders. It was a little more easily found, and it just hasn't held the way that 57 did. Number 6 on the list is Star Trek Q Conflict, number 1, the 1 in 25 Woodward variant. And this is not particularly a cool cover in my opinion, other than this is maybe a little bit of the Star Trek fans being kind of like Star Wars fans. It's a really hard to find book because how many comic shops really ordered 25 issues of Q Conflict? Probably not very many, so there's probably not a lot of them out there. That was kind of what seemed to be driving it back then. It was basically going for $50 to $60 right after release. And this book is, let's see, I can only find 2 recent sales. One was a Raw that went for $80. One was a 9.8 that went for $150. And there were only 2 currently listed on eBay, one for $80 and one for $75. This just seems to be a hard to find Star Trek cover that people are still chasing. So that is number 6, Star Trek Q Conflict, number 1, the Woodward 1 in 25 variant. Boy, I feel like I'm flying through the list this week because there's just not a lot to say about most of these. And number 5 on the list is Detective Comics 854. And this is the first appearance of Alice. And this has to do with her being cast as the villain in the upcoming Batwoman show on the CW. It's what caused this to hit the list. Basically, it went from dollar bins to $10 to $15, with a 9.8 hitting higher than $100. Now it's basically a still $5 to $15 book, so it's a little cheaper than it was, but not much. And 9.8s are going for $60 to $90, so they've dropped back under $100. So this is not much more than most books for a 9.8. I mean, most books you can't hardly get a 9.8 for less than $60, unless there's just a bunch of them out there where the market is oversaturated. So yeah, listings are right in that same range for that 5 to 15 for a raw book, but 9.8s are actually asking 115 to 145. People just aren't paying it. It's, like I said, going for 60 to 90 is really the range for that. So that was number 5 on our list, Detective Comics 854, sorry. And number 4 on our list is Showcase number 79, the first appearance of Dolphin. And this book took off because people expect Dolphin to show up in the next Aquaman movie, not because people know anything about whether or not. I haven't even actually heard any rumors officially that she is, that she's even like rumored to be in the next one. I think it's just all people specking that she might be. Back then, a 9.6 hit a record of 1,500, and it was increasing across all grades. This is a really cool book. It's a cool first appearance, and it has continued to just climb. So raws are now, depending on grade, going from 30 to basically 200. Definitely 100 plus on nicer graded copies. Slabs, like 9.6 slabs, I looked at because the 9.6 hit a record of 1,500 back during when the list came out. All the sales since then have been on Heritage or Comic Link, which I don't have accounts with, so I can't go back in and look those up. I need to get that. I apologize for that, but Go Collect is now showing the fair market value for a 9.6 at 2,000. Remember, in February it hit a new record at 1,500. So this book has continued to climb. The spec on Dolphin has not slowed down. Currently, like I said, you can find raw copies listed anywhere from $30 to $150 depending on grade. There's a 9.2 listed for about $500, 7.5 listed, or 7.0 listed for $250, and that's kind of, what's out there right now on the market. If this is a book you want, now it's probably still not quite the right time to go after it. Obviously, you want to do it before she's officially announced, but there still seems to be some heat around this book right now, and it still seems to be climbing. We will see if it continues to do so. And number 3 on the list is Cerberus, the Aardvark, number 1. Basically, CBSI says they weren't sure why it was spiking at the time. They do alert you that make sure you're actually getting a first print, because there's not very many of those out there. This is a very hard to find book. There's lots of reprints and stuff, so you just got to be careful that you're getting the right copy and not paying for something that's a reprint or doesn't necessarily have the value. Basically, it set record highs. A 7.5 hit 1,400, a 4.0 hit 380. Right now, like what I could find on eBay, as raw sales were anywhere from 300 to 500. There was 4 or 5 raw sales, I think. 8.5 it went for 1,790. An 8.0 it went for 1,500. A 6.5 1,250. Currently listings, there was a couple of 5.0s listed for 1,200. There was also a 6.0 listed for 1,000. Might have to go after the 6.0. I think there was another 6.0 listed for 1,200 as well. So that's kind of what's out there. Not a ton of them out there on eBay at the moment, but they can be found. The key is knowing what you're looking for, and I tried to do a little research on that. I didn't dig too deep, I'll fully admit, so I'm not exactly sure how to know for sure it's a first print. I would say definitely do your research on this one if you're going to go after this book, so that you know what you're getting. Because there was also copies that looked similar that were like $50, $100. So yeah, definitely know what you're getting into if you're wanting this book, if you're interested in this character. Go do your research, make sure you know what a first print looks like. At number 2 on the list is Immortal Hulk number 2, the Zafino 1 in 25. So I mentioned last week that the Immortal Hulk train was off and rolling and chugging along. I'm pretty sure there's going to be an Immortal Hulk book on here most weeks going forward, for at least for a while. This is obviously the 1 in 25 of that first appearance of Dr. Fry. And this one makes me a little sad because back in like October-ish of last fall, my comic shop occasionally does Friday night sales on Facebook or YouTube, and they put this up there, and I literally could have bought this book for $10 and didn't do it. Yeah, because I didn't have any interest. It was like issue 5, I think it come out by then, but it really wasn't up and rolling yet. And yeah, I missed the boat on this one. Back in February, raw copies were up to $150. They are still basically in the $100 to $200 range for a raw copy. 9.8s are going for $500 to $600 right now. And are listed for basically $600 and up. Most of the raws are listed for $175 to $250. 9.6s are listed for about $250. And this is down. Obviously, I say, so that's basically where it was at back in February in terms of raw copies. I don't know where slabs were for sure, because eBay doesn't let me go back that far. But it actually peaked back in April with 9.8 slabs going for $1,000 of this book. And well, one sale got it clear to $1,000, but there were several sales of $900. Right now, it is, like I said, going in that $500 to $600 range for 9.8. So it has come back quite a bit. Still admit to not truly understanding the traction to Dr. Fry, but this is the 1 in 25 of a first appearance of a fairly low print, high demand book. That is why it's supporting the prices it is. But again, a little bit of patience around when the list came out, and you could get it for basically half price of where it actually ultimately peaked. So that is Immortal Hulk number 2, the 1 in 25 Zafino variant. And last on this week's list is a true key, no matter how you look at it. It's the first appearance of Mysterio, Spider-Man number 13, Amazing Spider-Man number 13. And this, of course, had everything to do with the movie hype before the movie. Back then, all grades were hitting numerous records, is basically what CBSI had to say. They didn't necessarily give me any specific numbers. I look back, and this book is just hitting, 9.8 or 9.2s are going for 8,500, 8.0s are going for 3,700, 5.0s are going for 1,000. Raws are all listed in the $300 to $650 range. A 3.5 is listed for $615. This book is, I don't know if it's continued to rise, but it has not really slowed down with the release of the movie. The movie was good. Mysterio was good in it. This book keeps chugging right along. We will see how it lasts, if it doesn't come back a little bit as we get further away from the movie. Because doesn't look like Mysterio. Spoiler alert, it doesn't look like they're going to use Mysterio again. So, 2 years from now, people probably won't remember this quite as well, and it might come back down. So I would say probably playing the long game here, but this is an early Spider-Man book. So the long game trend is going to be that it's going up no matter what. So I don't know. I think on a book like this, you're just going to have to set your price and hope that you can find it. I think it will take a step back in the not so distant future. The question is, will that step back be worth however long you got to wait, and how significant it will be? I don't know that it'll be that significant, just because Spider-Man in general, early Amazing Spider-Man, continued to climb just based on the market and not necessarily based on any specific hype. So there's kind of two trends going there. I think there's a trend that this book should come back down as you get away from the movie, but there's also just the trend of ASM going higher. Not sure that you're going to gain a lot by waiting, but probably a little bit. So that is this week's list. I want to thank everyone for watching again. The early part of the list was dominated by covers and indies and stuff that really didn't do much, but, Showcase 79, Immortal Hulk 2, Cerberus the Aardvark number 1, Spider-Man number 13. These all seem to be pretty solid books that keep chugging on. So definitely some good stuff in this list, but also some stuff that it would have been best if you avoided. So with that, we will catch you later.